Hi, I'm Jason Phillips. I'm a licensed mental health clinician known as the Confidence Expert. With over 10 years of experience in the mental health field and coaching profession, I'm an expert in evidence-based treatment and strategic goal setting to foster success. As a speaker, I frequently present on topics including emotional wellness in the workplace, effective communication, mental health 101, and trauma-informed care. When you're looking for an informative, educational, and engaging speaker, contact Jason Phillips with Peace and Prosperity Coaching. Welcome to another episode of the Peace and Prosperity Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Phillips, licensed therapist, confidence expert. And today we're going to get into the biggest mistakes that I've made working on my confidence. So I'm going to be really vulnerable on this episode. Not to say that I'm not on other episodes, but today I really want to share some of the personal mistakes that I've made when building up my own self-confidence. I know you're enjoying the episode, but I want to say that maybe you've been listening to the episode and you're thinking, I would like to work on my confidence, or I'm not happy where things are at in my life and I could benefit from talking to a professional. If that's you, visit my website or click the link below, schedule your consultation, and let's see if we're a good fit to work with each other. All right, now let's get back to the episode. Now I'm going to give it to y'all in 5 different ways. I like to kind of give you tangible things. So there's 5 steps or 5 mistakes that I made when working on my confidence. And the first one was not doing it. That's right. I was not working on my confidence intentionally. Not saying that I was intentionally not doing it, but the mistake that I made was not being intentional about working on my confidence. It took a while for me to really understand just how important it is to have confidence. Let me break this down. Throughout life, we go through rejection. We have mishaps. We experience trauma. This is all of us. However, what happens is these things start to impact how we feel, how we think, how we behave, and then ultimately it shapes our life. The more confident that you are when life does happen, you can withstand these things and move through them and not let them stifle you. So for instance, I go for a job and I'm like, okay, I really want this job. I've prepared for it. I feel like I have the credentials, the experience. I don't get the job. I'm stressed out. I'm bummed out. And maybe I start to become depressed about it. I'm beating myself up. If I'm working on my confidence earlier, when those things happen, I can withstand it. I can bounce back a lot quicker. So now if I don't receive an opportunity or I get a no, I'm okay with it because I know that just means like not right now. Another opportunity is coming, but I'm not taking it personal because I have worked on my confidence in a lot of different areas so that I can withstand rejection. So that's just one reason or one way that I would say I made the mistake of not intentionally building up my confidence, not just to be more confident, but to be able to withstand a lot of the things that we experience during life. The second thing that I did working on my confidence was comparing myself. That was a big mistake. And I would say that a lot of times when you're comparing yourself, you don't even recognize that you are comparing yourself and the impact that it has on who you are as a person and ultimately how you feel about yourself. Meaning you may be in your field and you're putting in the work, you're grinding, and you feel like, okay, if I keep doing this at this pace, I'm going to get to that next level, which is likely true. But you have to remember not to compare yourself to somebody else who's been doing something way longer or just has a different set of circumstances than what you have. Let me give you an example. Me being a therapist, I've been a therapist now closer to 15 years. Like time is flying. But I remember early in my career looking at some of my colleagues, and I had one particular mentor now where I'm like, man, how am I going to be able to respond to certain questions in group meetings like he does? Or how am I going to be able to assess a client and come up with these different plans or resources. And it was intimidating because I'm thinking, like, Jason, you're not there yet. But the problem was, I just was not there yet. You get what I'm saying? I just did not have that experience yet. He had been in the field for maybe, I don't know, 15 or 20 years longer than me. I mean, he was that much older. So where I'm going is, don't compare yourself. That's a mistake that I subconsciously made, looking at other people where they're at and feeling like I need to hurry up and get there. And there's no amount of, I mean, outside of putting in the work and getting the experience, you're just not there. And that's okay. But what happens for a lot of us, or at least for me, let me speak for myself. When you look at where somebody else is at and you think, man, I'm not there yet, what does that mean about me? That's the question that I had to ask myself. And I can say now, that doesn't mean anything about me, because we are two separate individuals. So if you find yourself comparing yourself, that's a big mistake. And that's going to be a big setback on your confidence, because you're not that other person. So you're probably comparing apples to oranges. I don't care, even if you are looking at your twin brother, twin sister, whatever, y'all still think different. You still have had tons of different experiences throughout life. So it's still not fair to you. And I wasn't being fair to myself. So now I can look at somebody, what they're doing, where they've been, how they work with somebody, and I can admire that. And if I see something that I like or I want to know more, I can ask the question. But I don't have to sit back and think, oh, well, I can't be like that, or I'm doing something wrong. You see, when I start to think like that, that's when the negative self-talk comes in, and I start to stifle myself, because then one negative thought leads to another negative thought, to another negative thought. And then the next thing you know, I'm feeling horrible about myself because I'm comparing myself to somebody, and I have no business doing that. So comparing myself to other people had a big impact on how I felt about myself. And the worst part about this is I was doing it subconsciously. Like, I didn't even know that I was doing it. Is stress and burnout taking a toll on your company's productivity and morale? Are you looking for ways to improve your employees' mental health and wellness? If so, it's time to invest in mental health support for your workplace. As a mental health expert and speaker, I provide solutions for creating a happier, healthier, and more productive workplace. This includes a range of services to help your employees cope with stress, anxiety, and other mental health challenges. I facilitate workshops and presentations designed specifically to help your employees develop resiliency, manage stress, and reduce burnout. So why wait? Make mental health and wellness a priority in your workplace today, and contact us so we can support you all. All right, let's get back to the episode. All right, y'all. So the third mistake that I made on my confidence was stopping prematurely. What does that mean? When I'm working on something, I'm getting super close to being finished, to execution, and I slow down. I think in track they call it tightening up, where you pull back, but you're right there. You've laid out all the pieces, but you've not executed. And I noticed that. Like, I'll give you an example. Maybe I'm in the gym and I'm looking at my workout, and I'm going to do 4 sets on this, 20 minutes on this machine, 3 sets of this, and then I'm going to wrap up with abs, let's just say. So I'll do everything, and I get to abs. I'm like, oh man, do I really need to do that? Because I done did everything else. Do I really have to go that extra mile? I don't have to, but if we're talking about not making a mistake on my confidence, I need to go that extra mile, because I said that I was going to go the extra mile. Don't say it if you're not going to do it. So one of the mistakes that I was making was stopping prematurely, even though I had done quite a bit, but pulling back right before the end, that's causing, low confidence, because I'm not hitting the goal or the mark that I said I was going to do. So be mindful in your own life, are you getting super close to execution? And then right when you're there, you say, wait. Let me hold up. Or you don't finish. So I want you to execute. I don't care what it is that you're doing. But if it's in your career, finish it out. If it's in your personal life, if it's in your workout routine, whatever it is that you're setting out to do not stop prematurely, because that is going to have a significant negative impact on your belief in yourself. I'm telling you, don't do it. I've done it before. And when I realized it, I'm like, oh, hold on. Like, if I'm going to meal prep 4 or 5 days a week, whatever the number is, not going to vacillate. Like, whatever number is going to be, it's going to be that. And that type of self-discipline helps my self-confidence, which also impacts how I love and treat myself. So it's all simultaneous. They're not independent. We may look at them as being independent, but they're not. They are all correlated. So number 4, the fourth mistake that I made, and this was a big one on my confidence, was not having a coach sooner. I think I talk about this a lot, but maybe not enough. Just how helpful it has been to have various coaches and mentors in my life in different areas too. Like, for swimming, I know y'all, if you've been listening to the podcast, I have a swim coach and it's helped me tremendously. Having a speaker coach, working with Keandra has helped me tremendously. When I first started just my coaching business, working with my coach has helped me tremendously. Now, let me break that down when I just say tremendously. What does that mean? It helped me because there were some roadblocks that I had, not necessarily physical, but mental roadblocks that were stopping me from going to the next level. So for instance, it could even be putting out content, like a video like this. I remember a good friend of mine, he said, man, you need to get on YouTube. Okay. Sounds good, right? Like, sounds good, but there's a lot of work behind that. But really, is it? Or did I make it to be a lot of work? And then when I had my coaching, he really stressed progress over perfection. Things started to take off. So I'm getting out of my head. And some of these things are, you know it, you've heard it before, but when you can have somebody explain it to you in a different way or touch on something that you are not thinking about, you haven't seen, it's going to do wonders for you. So having great coaches, having great therapists, those things I really wish I just would have done much sooner, because there's so much time that elapsed where I could have been literally further along if I would have said, you know what, let me work with the coach. Like, just as plain as simple as that. And then the last thing that I've done that hurt my self-confidence, the big mistake, was just not giving myself credit on all of the things that I was doing before. If you're anything like me, I'm a goal setter. So I say I'm going to do something. All right, let's knock it out. Like, let's get into it. And there's times when I'm knocking out a bunch of things and then I'm putting something else right on the list. So the list becomes never ending, and I don't actually pause and say, oh man, I've done quite a bit, because I'm looking, what's the next thing? So being able to look at the progress that you've made and actually sit with it. Don't just gloss it over. And this is where great mentors and coaches come in handy, because they'll tell you when you need to step it up or when you need to pause and say, Jason, you actually are crushing it right here. Like, let's not move on right now. Let's marinate in this, right? Like, let it soak in. That's going to help you too. And at times we can be overly modest, or I can be overly modest. And in doing so, it's a mistake for my confidence, because it's not that I'm being cocky or arrogant. It's just I'm acknowledging the stuff that I've done, and I've done some great things. You've done some great things, and it's very much okay for you to acknowledge that and sit with it, embrace it, because that type of energy is just going to breed more and more confidence and competence. by all of your accomplishments. I didn't know that was going to rhyme like that, but it's pretty cool, right? So, but yeah, so just to recap, y'all, I wanted to be more open about my self confidence because when I'm working with people and I start to appropriately, right, self disclose something, people are like, oh man, you did that too? Yeah, I've done that. Like, I'm human before anything else. Before being a therapist, before being a coach, before being a speaker, I am very much human. And I love the fact that I can even just say that and people like, oh, okay, so you get where I'm coming from. Oh, most definitely. Like, I totally understand. I was talking to somebody who was going through grief and loss, and because I lost my mom and they were going through situation, again, when they found out, they were like, oh, you really get it. Like, you're not just telling me, oh, everything's gonna be okay, and you're not just trying to appease me. They're like, you understand. I'm like, yeah. So just being vulnerable like that, it lets people know that we can connect on a very much so human level outside of the professional relationship. That's still gonna be there. But on the human level, when people know that you've made certain mistakes or you've been through certain experiences, it just feels like, okay, now I can relax. I can let my guard down and I don't have to feel like I'm putting on any type of front. Like, you already see me. You get where I'm coming from. And then we can work through or work on whatever is coming up. But I wanted to break down the mistakes that I made with my confidence because I want you to know if you make some of these same mistakes, let me know. Shoot me an email, put a comment below. We can kind of go back and forth and respond to each other that way too. But I want this to be a very safe space and know that at the end of the day, we are all imperfect, but that doesn't make us nonetheless special and unique. So, all right, y'all. As always, I want to leave you with something to think about or ponder on with this episode. Think about these 5 mistakes that I've shared and which one can you relate to? And then which one can you or do you need to really start to work on to continue to build up your confidence? All right. That is it for today's episode. And as always, y'all, be blessed. Peace.